let's talk about Reading Festival. I thought it would be a really good idea I thought it would just be really good to look at some other active artists that would fit quite nicely into the Reading lineup. Now, I'm not going to go through everyone who I think is going to be there. Usually Reading has around 200 bands. In the last few years, there's been quite a significant rise in hip-hop. I don't think I know enough about kind of underground new rappers to add many of them to this list. I've added a couple, but not many. So we will be looking more at bands and producers and DJs and others like that. So the way I'm kind of breaking this down is that I'm looking at people who are either announcing that they're working on a new album, people who are touring, people who are just kind of active in general, and who could fit that bill of playing Reading Festival quite nicely. And the first band is Tenacious D. Now, Tenacious D last played Reading in 2008. It was my first year. They were hilarious. They fully improvised a whole song, singing it to a train. I don't know if there's any footage anywhere on the bowels of YouTube, but it'd be good to see that again. And whilst Reading is an ever-changing festival and is no longer what I would describe as the metal or rock festival that it once was, I could definitely see Jack Black and KG take to the main stage. Maybe on like a Sunday afternoon, when everyone's feeling really hungover and needs something a bit funny to lighten the spirit. I think that could be a lot of fun. You should definitely book them Festival Republic. Next is Imagine Dragons. I've thought about Imagine Dragons for quite a few years now. When they released their first album, they were just put on this huge trajectory to stardom and absolute huge success. And I basically decided that they were going to be the next Coldplay. But I think their second album struggled to connect in the same way anyway. Regardless, they've just released a new album. They recently played the O2 in London in February. And I could definitely see them either playing pretty high up on the, either headlining or high up on the NME tent, or pretty high on the main stage. One of the two. One of the next artists I think that could be playing is Weezer. Weezer kind of have sat themselves as quite firmly as one of the most influential rock bands from the mid-noughties. They've got a new album set to release in 2019, and they've had huge viral success with their cover of Africa by Toto. I could expect to see Weezer, if we get a good rock act on headlining, I could expect to see them quite high up on the main stage. Another band that's active and back in the studio is the Raconteurs. They last played in 2008. That was my first year. And Jack White is one of the last remaining like proper rock stars. He's in the Josh Homme, Dave Grohl kind of territory in my book. They're back in the studio for the first time in 10 years working on a new album. And I would expect to see them, if they were to play, I'd expect to see them quite high up on the main stage. Another kind of artist that's incredibly influential to music is Ian Brown of the Stone Roses. He's back in the studio working on a new album, and I think his music is really influential. The Stone Roses are very, very affluent in a lot of music that's around at the moment. The biggest band that I think they inspire is the DMAs. So I could see him quite high up on the main stage, or could even maybe like headline or sub-headline the Radio 1 stage, potentially. I don't know if he's too old. He would definitely bring an older crowd, and those that really respect the Stone Roses would definitely pack out to see him. An artist that's never played Reading before is Lana Del Rey. I think there's been a huge increase in respectable pop music over the last few years, and I think Lana Del Rey fits into that category quite nicely. She's never played Reading before, has a massive cult following, and is set to release a new album in 2019. So, you know, I'm surprised that she hasn't played yet, to be honest with you, because I think she fits that quite. I think she works well with that crowd, but I think we could see her, and if we do, I think it would either be pretty high up on the NME stage or pretty high up on the main stage. I'm not sure. Jesus Christ. Another band I think that we could see play the Radio 1 stage is Drenge. They're part of the growing harder rock sound of the UK. They're very noisy, and I think that they've got a great sound. They last played Reading in 2015, and they've got a new album set to come out in 2019. I think that they're almost one of the safest bets to see on that list, and I would expect to see them quite high up on the Radio 1 stage. Another artist with an album coming out next year is Paak. He last played Reading in 2016 on like midday on the 1Extra stage. He's fast becoming one of the biggest names in hip hop and has got huge support from Radio 1, so I would expect to see him on the Radio 1 stage. I think he's too big to even headline the 1Extra stage at this point. He's got a new album set to release next month, so I would be surprised if we didn't see Paak and the Free Nationals at Reading next year. Keeping it on the kind of hip-hop sound is, I think it would be great to see Action Bronson. He last played Reading in 2013. I didn't see it. And whilst Reading is historically a rock festival, it surprises me that he's only played once. He's got the attitude of a rock star in the same way that the Beastie Boys did. So I'm really surprised that we haven't seen him more, especially as he released an album last year as well. Regardless, he's just recently released another new album, and his live shows have massive energy. I think it would be incredible to see him in the Radio 1 tent, but I think also he could be on the main stage. One of the most charismatic men in rock and roll is Frank Carter. He's played Reading and Leeds for the last 3 years. This year obviously was a secret set, but he mentioned at the end of that gig that that was going to be the last gig of the year they played before they went off and recorded their third album. I think it would be a surprise to me if we didn't see him again in 2019, and I would really want to see him much higher up on either the Radio 1 stage or the main stage. I really hope this new album of his is going to be amazing, because I really want him to gain enough success to headline one day. I think he's an absolutely incredible person. So here's my hoping that the album's good and that we get a good show next year. An artist that's probably played Reading more than Frank Carter is Frank Turner. I think he played for like 10 years on the trot. He had a new album come out earlier this year. Didn't play Reading this year because he was touring America. But as he's a kind of fellow Reading fanboy at heart, I would expect to see him next year. I can see him playing either the main stage or the NME tent. He could even headline the Festival Republic. And you know what? He's kind of got enough of a grassroots heavy following that he could even play the Pit. We shall see. Let me know any other bands that you think that will be playing. I'm not looking at headliners. We're just looking at people that are active, people that could fit the bill. And, you know, who would you want to see there? And I'm not talking dream lineup, I'm just talking who's around that you would like to see play Reading Festival 2019. Let's get the discussion started, and I'll see you next time.